The ASR as the mind's reality mediator. Within MPIT, the anticipatory shadow reflex, the ASR, is no mere survival mechanism. It is the psyche's reality mediator, the point at which the self's orientation to both inner and outer worlds is determined. It does not simply warn of danger, it decides what is real and livable in a relational field that is always unstable. The paracosm as ASR holding pattern. When the self is regulated primarily through another's gaze, as Vaknin observes in Narcissistic Dynamics, the ASR is commandeered into a paracosmic loop of idealization and devaluation. The gaze functions as a surrogate ground of being. The ASR then locks the psyche into a holding pattern, oscillating between exaltation, idealization, and collapse, devaluation, as though orbiting a gravitational field that never stabilizes. Discard becomes not an event, but the inevitable conclusion of this anticipatory loop. Once the ASR can no longer sustain the illusion of reality through borrowed gazes. The annihilatory stress response as exposure of the paracosm. When the annihilatory stress response, infantile ASR, but here in its catastrophic register, ignites fully, the paracosm comes into view for what it is: a fragile construct of introjected fragments held in suspension by anticipatory vigilance. The mind's two reflexes, anticipatory shadow reflex, preemptive management of reality, and annihilatory collapse, breakdown of reality, activate together, but in contradiction, creating psychic whiplash. One insists on inversion and illusion, the other exposes absence and void. This duality explains why survivors experience such profound disorientation. They are simultaneously inside the mirrored fantasy and outside it, attempting to tether to the depressive position while the psychic ground is collapsing beneath them. Inflation and swapping of internal object worlds. The oscillation between idealization and devaluation is not just interpersonal, it is intra-psychic object swapping. The internal object world is inflated during idealization, as the other is elevated to the status of savior object. Collapse follows as the inflated object bursts, swapping places with its shadow counterpart, the persecutory or annihilating object. The ASR mediates this swap. It is the switchboard operator of reality, dictating which object world is to be inhabited at any given moment. This explains the survivor's profound estrangement from self. Their true self and internal maternal imago become crystallized in annihilatory anxiety, while the false self, inhabiting the anticipatory shadow reflex, manages the inversion in order to survive. Symbolic integration. The ASR is the organizing gate. It mediates between fantasy and collapse, holding contradictory assumptions at once. Survivors remain trapped in its orbit, locked in a paracosm of relational inversion, until the depressive position can be re-secured from within, rather than borrowed through the narcissist's gaze. Franklin's Hall of Mirrors becomes an MPIT's extension, not simply a trap of reflection, but a failed mediation of reality by the ASR itself, a structural impossibility that forces collapse and repetition. This is the pivot. The ASR as reality mediator explains why cluster B entanglement feels not only traumatic but ontological, as though one's very reality has been swapped, inverted, and withdrawn. Peace out. Loads of love.